the things I'm going to say here, I've only talked about once. And it was in my very first YouTube video in the Bringing Light to the Darkness series. And I was a wreck when I talked about it, so hopefully I'll keep it together. But I could skip all this, my mother, but I'm not going to, because it's contextual information that somebody or a few people or many people in the audience need somehow. I'm gonna get a drink. Okay, so we got to the part about my mother being a breeder. Sorry, Mom, that's what I see. The reason for that would be that she was part of a satanic lineage. Her father was a reverend, playing both light and dark. And this goes back, from what I can tell, at least 6 generations, and my mother's completely German bloodline. Yeah, her father worked as a chaplain in Nazi Germany and was in the army, but the memories I have of what happened with my birth family on her side of the family are, they're pretty fragmented still, and some of them are pretty horrific. This is a part of my story I'd really like to sweep inside a corner and like put in a vault. This is way harder to talk about than the stuff in space. Where am I going with this? Yeah, her father was a reverend, and I've had some conversations with him as I do work as a medium. I talk to dead people pretty easy, and he came to me and said, yeah, I was doing that and I was trying to get out of it. I was trying to break the spell. I didn't know how to do it and I failed. So it came down through the satanic ritual. I don't know how much detail I want to go into that, but it came down into my mother's brother, and I remember most clearly being abused by him in the woods in his property. He has a 1800s cemetery on his property. Their grandfather was a cemetery caretaker. There's a lot of stuff that is very weird. This uncle, my mother's brother, wears camo all the time, and in his basement is this huge collection of Nazi leftover stuff, memorabilia, flags, helmets, weaponry, insignia, symbols. Nobody in my family, we go over there for Easter and Christmas and New Year's, nobody ever said anything about how fucked up that was. Like, that was right in front of us. Nobody ever said anything. I remember being hung as an infant by my neck by my uncle. And I say that because what has come down through that lineage is a shape-shifting, reptilian, demonic entity feeding on abuse over generations. And it's connected to the Draco. The Draco owned me from the time that happened until I was all through the programs. I'll get into that as much as I can as I go on here. All the way onto Planet X, I was completely owned by them later in the programs as a weaponized asset. I was a patrol for them in the far reaches of the solar system. But it started back here in my mom's family. She has this in her bloodline. So, like I said, I've done a lot of deep digging around the context of this stuff, and that led me to that understanding. No wonder they wanted her as my mother. So I hope that makes some sense. And I will say that just a note on this, because people probably wonder, what are the mechanics of this? How come they don't kill the kid? You know, sometimes they do, but mostly they don't want to kill the child, they want to keep using it. It's not an asset if you kill a child, usually, unless you're doing a sacrifice on purpose. They have, like I would say, witnessing both my grandfather and my uncle doing things to me, they had dark entities that work like in collusion with the perpetrator, telling the perp what to do at every step of the journey when they're doing what they're doing. And their boss are those the reptilian energy field. My mother, when she used to get up in my face, and I knew she was going to abuse me. Her eyes were, I always thought this as a kid, that they looked reptilian. Her eyes looked reptilian. They looked like little snake eyes. They'd get really small, and I knew I was going to get it. Now I see this also clearly. I've had many dreams of my mother as a reptilian. I'm so sorry. It's not really funny. I have a little bit of dark humor around all this because it's helped me get through. But I've done a lot of work to get where I am. And I feel like if I'm well enough to share this, I have to. There's a moral imperative in our collective now for people who have experienced this, who can kind of keep their shit together in front of the public, to share it. We need to come forward. This is real. It's not make-believe. So I know coming into this for the first time, it's tempting to dismiss it, like it's not, this doesn't really go on. I know because I have a lot of clients who find me who are victims of satanic ritual abuse in their families, that it does go on. And it is connected completely to the programs. Why is this, why would it be connected to going into space later? Because all the programming is already there. The kid has already learned to completely dissociate and learn that someone else is the master of the child. The kid is going to be 100% obedient at all times, never questioning authority. Completely owned slave. And that's what I became. So it's taken me a long time to get here. Yeah, thank you for... Thank you.